Next team that we'll review before the NHL season starts is Chicago Blackhawks. And Chicago was one of the top teams in NHL 4 or 5 years ago, but recently they have dived to the bottom of the division, and they have some kind of rebuilding or retooling in the process, but still a few players from those glory days, like Jordan Kate Duncan, Brent Seabrook, Patrick Kane, and Jonathan Toews eating the salary cap with some 7-figure numbers, 8 figures actually, in case of Toews and Kane. How do you see it, Tommy? Is the retooling progressing as planned, or are these veterans some kind of problem with the team?
I think they are becoming a problem. Some of them already are. It's okay to pay 10 million for a player who is your best player and one of the best players in the league, like for example Patrick Kane. But when you pay for 3 to 4 guys the similar amount and they're not as good as they were before, of course it's hindering your progress. And also Chicago has been, in a way, their retooling has gone wrong because they haven't been as bad as they should be. So they would have gotten a little bit better talent in the prospect pool by being the worst in the league, for example. They've been there in the sort of middle mix for most of the time. So it's uncertain what's their plan actually to do, if they're going to hold on to their veterans, which is, of course, as a hockey romantic, a very nice thing to do. But if they are looking in a pure point of winning, they probably should try to offload the likes of Seabrook, soon getting rid of Keith as well. They already did get rid of Corey Crawford, who was also earning quite a bit for his current performances. Last season, of course, they made some strides. They made it to the extended playoffs. Wouldn't have made it in the normal season, of course, but they did beat the Edmonton Oilers, not very good playoff team as we know, but they beat them anyway in the 5-game series. And the young players, the newcomers like Dominik Kubalik, played really well. So they have this layer of youngsters coming up, but the veterans are still eating most of the ice time, and they still a little bit too much reliant on Duncan Keith, Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, even Brent Seabrook, who has declined quite a lot in the past 2-3 seasons already. How about our simulations? How have we been doing with the Blackhawks predictions in the past 2-3 seasons?
Overall, Blackhawks win percentage, I think, especially at home, where it is 46%, has been quite low when we compare those glory days. And I think simulations still think a little bit that this is good or even very good team, because there is quite a bit expected value in home games. So almost 66% of the home games Chicago has expected value, and that is of course quite a bit, and maybe too much, because bettors haven't been able to make constant profit out of those games. But on the road there is a bit less expected value. Maybe the odds are also higher there, and generating profit for bettors, because if you would bet every game during the last 3 seasons where Chicago has expected value on the road, you would end up almost 1,000 profit. And when we think generally the first home game, I think we discussed this earlier with some other teams, that first home game is difficult for many teams, and it looks to be especially difficult for Chicago, because the win percentage home is only 41%, and that is quite a bit below their average home win percentage. And also the betting of first home game is not very profitable, so you would be losing money if you would bet Chicago to win the first home game. So that is something that would be maybe good to check, that is it really worth to bet Chicago when they are playing first home game, or is there proper value in those games? But Chicago will play in Central Division. How they match up with other teams?
Yeah, Chicago might actually have a little bit of an advantage playing in the Central now, not facing all the big teams in the West as they have previously. So they are actually avoiding the Vegases and Colorados at the moment. Instead, they get to play Detroit, for example, which is probably a good thing for them. But it's very hard to see Chicago actually challenging for the top teams in the Central Division, or definitely a lot better still. But there is this mix of teams in the position of fighting maybe for the fourth playoff spot in that division. So there is a lot of opportunities there. Depends a lot how their young players can step up again now. A lot of issues with injuries. Like I said, Corey Crawford is gone. The goaltender situation is really weird. So there is so many question marks at the moment with Chicago that it's very intriguing to see how they match up in this small mini playoff style season with only 56 games played. How about our simulations? How does it look on that end against these divisional rivals?
Those teams that you mentioned, that there would be tight matchups, and we'll see which one will maybe reach the playoffs or which ones are the ones to just drop out. Chicago actually has been playing pretty well. Their win percentage against Florida, Columbus, and of course Detroit is 67%. So they have won 2/3 of the games that they've faced these teams. But they have struggled quite a bit with the better teams. So, for example, against Tampa and Carolina, they haven't won a single home game during the last 3 seasons, and on the road, only a few wins out of those better teams. So, if they want to really push playoffs, I think they need to snatch some points here and there for the better teams, and then perform as they have been performing against similar size or similar teams that are predicted to maybe make a playoffs. And naturally, teams like Detroit, they need to win all of their games.
Yeah, and it doesn't look very likely with the situation in Chicago at the moment. Like I was saying, the goaltender tandem there is at the moment Colin Delia and Malcolm Subban. Neither really NHL caliber starter by any means. Third in line Finnish guy Kevin Lankinen was extremely good in the World Championships in 2019, but well, that's a while ago, and it's still not NHL. So there is no certain cards to play between the pipes for Chicago. In the defense, Duncan Keith is still producing. He's still top level. Of course, lost a little bit of his stride, but very good all around. Otherwise, not much to tell there. Brent Seabrook, like I said already, lost a lot of his prowess, both in offense and defense. So he might actually be kind of a hindrance since we're not in the 90s anymore. Also, there is not much offensive talent in the D. They are big guys mostly, but that's not enough in the modern day NHL. In the offense, they are a bit deeper maybe than last time. Of course, the bad news regarding Jonathan Taves is going to miss at least the start of the season due to unknown concerns with his health. Hope everything is well there. Third overall pick Kirby Dach got injured before the World Juniors. Alexander Nylander is out for the whole season. So there is a lot of these sort of small issues and bigger issues that are affecting the offense. So the young guys, Alex DeBrincat and Dominik Kubalik, who broke through last season, need to step up once again. And, you know, Chicago is going to start with Dylan Strome as their number one centerman, just made a new contract. So there is a lot lying on Strome and DeBrincat and Patrick Kane to produce some offense, because the lower level guys, the bottom six, are not very offensively talented. There is Matthias Janmark, Linus Wallmark, new guy from Switzerland, Pius Sutter, but not really established secondary scoring at all. and that's something that could lead up to a disaster on Blackhawks end this season. But how do we predict the Blackhawks season, and how has it looked in a couple of past seasons?
So, like I said, 4 years ago, Chicago won Western Conference, and 3 years ago, they were predicted by us to go under, and even though the bookmakers predicted them to be number 3 in the West, they were number 3, but counting from the bottom. So that was the first, let's say, big drop from the top to bottom for them. And we didn't predict them to be so low, but also under prediction was correct. Then 2 years ago, our predictions were predicting them to be more or less same position, so near of the Western Conference bottom, and they were under as predicted. And now last season, like I said, it was cut short, and in standard season they wouldn't reach playoffs. It was predicting them to be 10th. That was pretty close as well. The total point line that was predicted under 90.5 points, and actually they got how many points? They got 72 points out of 70 games, so most probably they would end up going under that threshold. So we have been pretty accurate in season predictions. And how do you see right now how our season prediction looks like, and is there any bets that you would make for the Stanley Cup, for example?
Yeah, no, at the moment there is so many question marks with Chicago. They fell a couple of spots after the news about Taves and other injuries, and the goaltender situation got out. So I wouldn't bet a single penny on Chicago this season, except for maybe the underline. Let's see how the bookmakers actually see that. But so far, the odds for winning the division are extremely high. It's 4,000, so nobody expects that to happen. And also, winning the Stanley Cup is actually remarkably low. It's 5,845, but still two long shots, either of those. And I see a more difficult season for Chicago than the simulations do.
Let's see what kind of total lines we'll get, and see if it's worth to bet under this time again, like we've done in last 3 seasons.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's see the lines.
Very good. Thanks.
Very good. See ya. Bye.